Well, hello everyone. I would like to welcome you to UN 75 Dialogue. This is going to be the fifth panel at Abdullah Gül University, and I'm more than happy that you're participating in this, especially young people, young professionals, some of you. It matters a lot to learn about your thoughts about UN SDGs, their future, and the future of the world. What do you think? How do you feel about it? I'm not going to talk too much. I would like to leave the floor to you without further ado. Shall we start perhaps discussing how do you think the world will be in 2045, which is when UN turns 100 years of age? Who wants to go first?
I can go first with this question.
Thank you.
I think in 245, so many things will change, as we can imagine. The world will be much more globalized than today. Thus, building partnership will be much more easy. On the other hand, providing equality and justice for everybody will be much more hard. And the same considerations for UN's today sustainable development goals will go ahead, like food shortage and climate change. All those things will continue, and it will get harder at those times. And furthermore, robots and artificial intelligence technologies will be much more considerable at those days, and they will significantly convert the industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
May I ask a sub questions, Kubra? Do you think COVID-19, the pandemic period, does it have any tangible effect on all of this, you think?
I think for sure.
Could you say more, perhaps?
Yeah, I think the first effect will be on economy of the world, and the second effect will be on the psychology of the people.
Right. Right. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Anybody else? How do you think the world will be in 2045?
I think I just jump on the panel. Sorry,
please go ahead. Yeah.
I think it will be like Kubra said. I totally agree with her. It will be more challenging for climate and for the environment also nowadays, because of the pandemic. We are having issue on healthcare system, so we are trying to take more consider the healthcare system nowadays, which is also creates inequality between countries. So I hope after 100 years it will be more easier and more equal for everyone in the world, because some countries are having bad issues, some others somehow more better way in this situation. So it will be I think economy will be more easier, and as she mentioned, actually, what I also wanted to point it out, economy will be like globalization will be easier, but I think the distance between people as a mentally will be more far away, because people started to behave individually nowadays. That's why we are having more issues on sustainable developments. That's why I hope it will go better. So this is my opinion about this.
Thank you very much. So I guess you're saying that we're losing the idea of being a community. We're acting as individuals alone, right?
Yeah, because like even in cosmopolitan places, I mean collective societies, we are seeing this. People started to be individual, and their communications is going lower and lower. And I think it will be harder to make connections between people or organizations. But for the globalization, even in nowadays, we can connect with people, or we can buy something from, let's say, America from here. But our minds our ideas are going far away, because we are going to more individuals.
Right. Shule, may I ask one more question maybe regarding what you said? Do you think partnership among institutions or among countries, do you think it helps to bring that future that you're hoping for, that you're imagining in your mind?
Yeah, I think the institutions can lead people to the feeling inside the society, like because people when people do something good, they feel better and they feel inside the society. So this break the idea of individuals, so they can understand each other well and they can really do something for society. I hope in the future we can create this how can I say atmosphere, but I'm not sure about this because people in nowadays divide each other parts of it, like uh how can I say, I mean discrimination. Yeah, this is the word I was searching for.
Yeah.
I hope if we break this discrimination idea, it will be more easier, and this partnerships and these goals are really take consider this discriminations and really help for to break this.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Who wants to go next?
Can share my thoughts?
Please, absolutely.
I believe in 25 years, I think I'm gonna be more pessimistic than other
That's
friends.
a good challenge.
Because I see already we have an insecure youth around us, especially the pandemic situation make the people think about themselves and questioning themselves, questioning environment and all the decisions the world make, their local people make, and they all insecure about the future and themselves. And I don't believe that these are gonna just like solve suddenly. And the goal, like the number 16, as I said, the peace, justice, because we already in 2020 we are already talking about we still talking about the inequalities and the other stuff. And I don't believe that there is another inspection or this provision, enough provision for these kind of situations. And I believe as my other friend said, the psychological part and the damage of this stuff will be more dangerous in the future. And I hope the institutions and the UN's local institutions help for that problem solving situation.
Thank you so much. So do you think, Canan, local institutions, you said, do you think that's enough to act on local institutions, or do you think it requires bigger participation or larger participation?
Of course, it requires larger participation, but it starts in the, like, how can I say, it's like the keystone. This is the key step that you can reach the people like more easily. And like, how to say, you can remind yourself like the gender equality and the other inequalities, like the good health and the well-being stuff in small group of people. I think that will be much more effective. And after that, the next step will be we can expand it to the global and the national and global stuff.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. So in that case, Malik, how do you feel about that? Where do you think the world will be in 25 years?
Well, I think it's good. To be more realistic, we need to weigh both the sides. I support everything that Kubra, Shule, and Canan have said, because they looked at both positive and negative. But once we combine it, we can actually see the actual real picture. What I believe is like it's gonna be changed. That's for sure. And as we are going towards a more globalized, like a global village kind of place, the stress on UN, and especially the goal number 16, which promotes peace, justice, and strong institutions, is going to be major. Because as people, like, also another point I want to focus is, as Shule said, that although we are covering distance between each other much quickly, travel is faster, but actually we're going farther apart. And we're just creating this image of the other. And it can be as small as a small ethnicity. It can be as small as like a neighborhood, even neighbors, for example, one house to another. And this image, is what's going to be challenging for the UN for their goals for more globalized institutions and more global partnerships. And I really feel like as like, you know, we're seeing there's wars, conflicts, human rights are taking a hit in these very, very difficult times. So it's going to be a big challenge in the future, especially in the next 25, 30 years for the UN to try to accommodate all of these problems. I also wanted to focus a little bit on COVID.
Please, yes.
As yes, the pandemic, as it has really shocked the world. Everything was just going linearly, and then it just broke all operations, and there was no discrimination. Developing countries, underdeveloped countries, developed countries, everybody took a major hit. And I feel like this could be a turning point, at least for like, you know, the general population to realize, like, you know, we might not be going in a good or productive way, a progressive way, and we need to rethink all of the ways we're dealing with our lives, with our environment, and how we look at sustainability. So I really feel like the world got a break from everything else because the pandemic became like a big issue, and it just stopped all processes, education, economic, everything went like just stopped. And it gave us a chance to stop and look at what we're doing. So hopefully that will propel us towards a better future. One more thing, I know I'm taking a lot of time.
No, please.
It's like I'm afraid that the pace at which we are progressing could be counterproductive.
Oh, I see.
We've got better technology, better than we've ever had in the past, and the growth we've had in just the last, like from 2015 to 2020, is much greater than 50 years between 1950 to 2000. And that pace can be dangerous, especially in terms of distribution of news or distribution of information, because there's just so much out there, and a lot of it is exploited, biased, affiliated with political organizations and other organizations, that I think if we don't focus and stress towards getting a more transparent world in the future in terms of organizations, brands, institutions, that would be very difficult for us to deal with any problems that would be arising.
Thank you so much. That was great. Yeah, absolutely. Transparency will be probably the word that I should take out from your talk. In that case, I would like to go ahead discussing this. So some of you have optimistic ideas about 25 years from now, and others are not so much. What do you think, if we think specifically about UN, which you brought the topic to, Malik? What will be the challenges that UN faces, you think, in the next 25 years regarding all the things that you said? Individualism, the pace of progress, technology, economic growth, and pandemic. Considering all of those in the next 25 years, what do you think would be the biggest challenges for UN?
I can say something, I think. I think, as my other friends also said, like being unprepared for everything makes the whole world goes at chaos or something. And this chaos is getting bigger when the difference of that, like the technology sources differences and the economical based stuff, and if even these stuff cannot be solved in local, again I'm going about like all local stuff, if we are not solving these questions or the problems in local, we cannot go further for that. I think UN will be like I think it's gonna be hard to solve it in global, or the how to say, to reflect all different country cultures and the other stuff and other backgrounds, all differences, to make them together and to create a new just one goal or the other goals. It's going to be much more harder, I think, in the future, because the difference between like the countries, both, as I said, like economical and technological developments, it's going to be like much more bigger, and that's going to be the, I think, much more challenging issue in the future.
I see, great. So in that case, I think you kind of answered, but maybe you want to say more. What do you think UN should change in that case, in its approach?
I believe the cooperation between the companies that UN already is working with should be more, how can I say, there can be more inspections, or how to say, or the companies that, as I said, UN is working with, can do their own self-regulation stuff, maybe. That can help, I can say.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Jana. And who goes next?
I think that would be, yeah, I think I have some things about this. So as you said, like, you know, what could be the bigger challenges or obstacles that UN could face while trying to, you know, overcome these problems? Firstly, I really believe, like, because of how big everything is, like organizations or brands, like the large ones, bigger ones, they've grown so much that they feel like they don't have to be accountable for anything.
Nice.
Like you can easily see, like, for example, certain companies are bigger, have bigger economic, have better economy, have more capital than other countries themselves. So I feel like these organizations and their views might prove a big challenge, because they might not always align with what the UN wants or what the world wants, and that could prove a big challenge, as you know, it would be very difficult to firstly to convince them, and if they're not convinced, to actually do something against that or to stand up to them. Secondly, I feel like the UN needs to build more trust and reliability amongst the populations of the world. Personally, growing up, I really looked at UN as, I could almost say, like, it's a very unprofessional term, but like a superhero organization. Because, you know, you feel like, okay, it's the peace organization, it's unbiased, no political affiliation, it is the same all over the world. And I feel like they need to build a little bit more on that image, because if they have that trust, only then can people stand by them or support the decisions, or at least expect from them to do something about it. Another big challenge, as we are progressing right now, and we discussed in the previous question, was that the differences between people are increasing. And these differences, no matter they can be due to race or just economic status or anything, they can be very difficult to tackle. And I think the UN would want to focus on how to bring the people together. And not just in people, as we're talking about global institutions, we're talking about like countries. The difference, the economic difference, the development difference between countries can also pose a big risk to peace and to working together, because there's a lot of challenges that are involved underneath. And as I think you asked, like, how can they better, like, you know, try to manage these challenges, right? What can they do for the difference? I feel like the UN needs a little bit more involvement. And yeah, the conferences are great, but maybe the UN, it's time for the UN to leave just New York and Geneva and go out into the world, into those underdeveloped countries, and get involved with everyone. They should become inclusive. Talk to the people that are down there, because people who are illiterate, people who don't have TVs, people who don't have social media, people who have no way of reaching out. Because if we're talking about human rights, I feel like people who are literate, or who have had a decent education, or who can reach out to social media, somehow they can reach somebody who will get them justice. But somebody who cannot use this platform, all these platforms, or this media, they are at a very, very unfair advantage. Children, poverty-stricken areas, all of them, and the youth. I really feel like UN needs to involve the youth a little bit more. Yeah, like, you know, they all say like young people are more irresponsible and everything, and they need some background knowledge and education. But the youth has a lot of potential, and they are aware, and they're aware about everything that's going on in the world, and they're ready to do something about it. So if the UN can help with that, or they can make them more involved, they can provide motive, inspiration, I really feel like we can use the potential of the youth to create a better tomorrow. And one last thing about actors, as like what actors could UN work with? Maybe in educational institutions, because that's where it all starts. NGOs, I'm sure it's already working with them, and the brands. Because being a business student, a recent business student, I've realized that even governments do not have the power to tackle brands, because there's a certain limit to what a government or an agency can tackle or limit what a brand can do in terms of sustainability or human rights, child labor, whatever it may be. But what really can make a difference are the customers, the base of customers. So if the UN can get to the people who those brands are selling to and convince them, because they're normal people, they're not profit oriented. And as humans have this innate ability to want to do good. And as we can see, everybody, most consumers, they want to go towards sustainable brands. So if we can convince them, they have the power to push the brands towards a more sustainable and more peace justified system in the future.
Great, thank you so much. I think you're agreeing with John on most points, that they should get closer, more in touch with the locals who are more different, and perhaps not be so far away as a super image, right?
Yes. Much more grounded approach towards, the reality of what's going on. Yes, I would agree with John on that.
Great, thank you so much. That was really wonderful. Thank you very much. Who wants to go next? The challenges that UN is going to be facing, and how could it reform the way it does things?
To be honest, I agree with both of my friends because they really get an important point. The most important challenge for the UN is not involving with everyone's need, not involving with background needs. So it's important. Another challenge for me is it doesn't correspond the needs. I mean, it doesn't refer to which will be challenging in the future. For instance, when we face a problem in today's world, we have to think deeply about how people will experience this, how people will react to these challenges. So we are familiar with the words of design thinking and user experience. We are familiar with those words on production. I think UN take those two words on creating ideas and building partnerships. I think the challenges can be solved with these ways.
Thank you so much. That's a great idea. Again, I guess the view of another business administration alumni, right?
Yeah.
Great. Thanks a lot. Shule, so you are left. What would you like to add?
Actually, the group is totally taking my ideas. They're stealing it. So I'm really.
I mean, I'm glad if you're all agreeing on the same terms, I guess.
Yeah. Somehow it's really interesting. Like we are somehow in the same point. I think the most challenging part is the conflicts. Like they also mentioned about this. Like people, we have discrimination, and when we check the goals, like they are super, and like they all are important, but somehow the UN is just like when we look at the, how can I say, the application of this goals, it's somehow weak. Like we agree about the poverty, or let's say the life below in the water. We all agree that, but what we do about this, or what UN do about this? Like I think it's like also like they have to connect with local people more, because even some people doesn't hear about anything about sustainable development goals. They never heard about this. That's why I think they have to create more sustainable communication process. Even in, let's say, in my city, Turkey is not that much undeveloped country. But even in Turkey, I don't think all people, let's say half of people, know about the sustainable development goals. I don't even think about the other countries which faced with war, or let's say, more bad situations. So I think UN needs to Malik just mentioned, also Asli mentioned, they have to connect more local, and also to break the conflicts, break the discrimination. They have to really work on this, because if let's say we are not talking in here, we don't talk anything about anything about development, even in life, even if we don't ask how are you or something, and we are expecting to solve problems like they are global problems, which is almost impossible. So to break this conflicts and discrimination, they have to connect the local more, and which is I absolutely agree, which is more challenging, because you have to understand people, like we are all different, all have different cultures, backgrounds, etc. I totally agree with that. Also, in the other side, as Malik said, some companies, like they are super huge, and they have big power, both economic, both affecting people. So maybe UN directly connect with them. Even they can, I hope in someday they can make some laws about this, because like it's very dangerous, because it can directly affect the whole people. Let's say you're just creating a social media account or social media platform, and you're changing thousands of lives. People even get money for this, or people when we are still having issues with unemployment rates, so which is totally life-changing. So that's why they have to connect more big companies and more local. So I can say this, and which are I absolutely agree about, which are big challenges. But if we go through this, I hope we can finish these challenges and conflicts.
I hope so too. I'm really glad to hear some optimistic voice from there. It's also interesting that as people of similar age, as youth from different countries of Earth, you all agree on the fact that UN should be getting the help of masses, actual populations who do not know much about UN or SDGs or what it does. So correct me if I misunderstand. I just want to wrap up your answers. It's really striking that I'm hearing the same thing from young people of similar ages. So you're saying that for UN to be able to help people, it should be receiving help from people. Do I get it right? Perfect, great. Thank you so much. So we will wrap up. But I would like to hear some more. Actually, you proposed a lot of answers. How the challenges can be faced, what can be done, what can be reformed, what has been done not in the best way. But can you perhaps give some concrete proposals about what UN should do? Let's say UN will hear you. And by the way, not let's say, UN will hear you. So concretely, you are working in UN. What would you propose? Specifically.
As we looked at these goals, especially in terms of peace and justice and transparency, what I want to say is, like, the first thing we can actually do, or maybe the UN can force a little bit more, is getting the news out, the truth out, in terms of like what is actually going on. I really feel like, because of huge, bigger organizations or countries or whatever the reason may be, we need a little more action, and especially from the UN, because they might be the only organization that is properly international. It's recognized all over the world. It has no political affiliations. It does not have bias against any race, ethnicity, people, population, whatever. So because it has that already, it needs to be a little more brave, more bold. They should have a little bit more courage and actually get in there and get the truth out to people. Even if the UN, for example, does not have the power to change something, once it's out, people will. And we really underestimate that. We underestimate the power of the masses. Because if they know what's going on and they don't turn away from it, which they will not if it's coming from a credible source, then I think we can try to tackle all these goals, especially about human rights and justice, because we cannot, if we don't know, it's not going to work. Yep, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
I think that was a great proposal. I mean, you're basically saying that we can't move the masses unless they know what is going on, what they should be doing, how they can be helping. So that's great. Thank you very much. That's a very concrete proposal.
Thank you.
And
I would also like to add one more thing. I'm sorry for,
go ahead.
Yeah, as we're going towards a more globalized thing, maybe UN can have a more, like, I would not call them events, but places where people from different organizations, ethnicities, countries can come together in a space, in a safe space for them to know each other, to break these stereotypes and these barriers. Because if discrimination will exist, we're not going towards a progressive area. We're just going to keep coming back to these problems. So just transparency and, breaking the stereotypes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody else who wants to propose a solution for UN?
I can say something. I totally agree with Malik, what he is saying about the whole world. As already UN has the power, that massive power that they can reach international regions easily, and respectful, how to say, cooperation. And I can say instead, and all behind this, we can also ourselves go into the action, like. And I believe I want to mention on the education that we can start in ourselves and in our local group of people that we live together. And that's gonna be like cliche maybe, but today's youth will be like tomorrow's adults. So they are going to be the decision makers of the tomorrow worlds, and they're gonna make the peace and the justice rules and the other stuff. And they're gonna make the partnerships with the like a sustainable way, or like in a bad way, in a good way. And I believe education is a really key point in that point, and UN should more focus on this stuff. I think education will be like much more, especially for the children, like the how to say, they need to know what is going on around the world. I know they are talking about the psychological effects or the stuff, but there's a ways, there are a lot of ways to reflect these kind of situations to the children. If they already grown up with the knowing these challenges, I think they will be much more prepared for the future, and they can prepare the future like how they want to be in their future life.
That's great. So do you have any idea in mind, Canan, how UN can reach out to different educational systems of different countries?
We know UN also have like UNICEF, International Children's Emergency Fund. They can work much more on this issue, I think. The thing is they should focus more. As my friends also said, they reach all the people around the world and all the cultures and all the countries, and they should be started in local, I think.
That's great. I can hear that you definitely all agree and emphasize over and over again that UN should be starting from the local and get the help of the people. That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Kübra, do you have any proposals for UN, how to face those challenges, how to make those reforms? I mean, concrete, specific proposal?
Yes, I have. Actually, I have 3 words to summarize all of them.
Mm-hmm.
First one, UN should be much more aware, should create more awareness, I mean. Much more inclusive involvement, and more empathy.
More emphatic. Especially the last one, more empathetic. Can you Can you open that up for a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean by empathy, as we told on the second question, we are all coming from different backgrounds. Even in the same country, we are having different backgrounds. So it's important to get all of the differences and create one unity to solve to create sustainable solutions to the problems.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the answers that you've given. I appreciate that you actually thought about them and put up a real dialogue in all it means. So thank you for your time. Before we leave though, I would like to perhaps receive some closing remarks from Nimet. As a member of AGU, as a professional from AGU, and perhaps the generation before you guys. Let's hear her, and then perhaps we can say goodbye. Sorry.
First of all, thank you guys for sharing your thoughts, and thank you for your great. I would like to add one more thing before finalizing this session. Yes, we say sustainable development is very important, and it will be more important in the future. Especially SDG 17 is always in the most important one because it supports local, national, and international for sustainable development. And middle of this platform, and they are the hearts, and they should take the responsibility. They should have policies, programs, events, and cooperation supporting all the SDGs, not only one or two and several, all the SDGs. And AGU gives SDGs, and we are producing reports related to all these ones, all these 17. And students, let's say young people, about the importance of sustainability. And
I think we lost Nimet, right?
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Okay. And I was saying the departments should arrange their activities and their studies according to these sustainable development goals. I agree with you all, guys, and we are very glad to hear your proposals. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So I guess we can say that since UN has reached out, and not just Turkey, not just Abdullah Gül University, but many countries and many local institutions, I guess they are also in line with all of you. They must be agreeing with you. They want to hear the thoughts, the opinions of local people from all around the world, from different age groups, different sociocultural groups. So I'm sure that will be a great addition to their program and plan. I would like to thank you again, all of you. Thank you, Nimet, for your time and for your opinions. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.